Strategy Corner, a show intended to equip you with the business principles to help you become the leader your organization requires. Our guests from top business schools, renowned consultancy firms, and forward-thinking leaders and executives will provide you with the contemporary business insights and principles to help you successfully navigate the complex world of business. And now, here's your host, Kwena Mabotja.
Hello and welcome to Strategy Corner. I'm your host, Kwena Mabotja. In our previous episode, Kwena Mabotja, an SAP University Alliances and Next Gen Manager for Africa, shared with us the SAP University Alliances program, which helps students get exposed to enterprise resource planning systems in industry. In this episode, Kwena will share with us the SAP Next Gen program, where students get their hands dirty into some of the latest technologies and innovations that happen at SAP. Thank you so much for joining again, Kwena.
Thanks, good to be here again.
In the first segment, you were very kind enough to give us an introduction about what the University Alliances is. Mm-hmm. And under that umbrella, we have the SAP Next Gen. Can you talk us a little bit about that?
So I think where the whole journey started with SAP and the world of academia and young people was, like I mentioned, about curriculum and teaching in the classroom. And that's traditionally what was done under university alliances. But, with the advent of this digital disruption that we also talked about in the first segment, there's now an increasing need to actually work with these young, brilliant people that are moving into the workplace and into industry, and actually leverage some of that innovative thinking to support companies on their digital transformation journeys. I think all companies know that they have to take into account innovation and tech and digital. And one of the channels is actually tapping into these young people. And I think it kind of happened very organically. So we started working with the universities and we realized that, actually universities are sitting with some research capability themselves. They're sitting with students that have research capabilities, and that there's actually an opportunity for industry to work more closely so that they can draw out and seed those disruptive technologies from the students. And that's kind of how the Next Gen program was born. From that need to connect those two worlds and create a channel of innovation between industry and academia and students. So that's the SAP Next Gen program. And, the way that we do it basically is there are a number of programs that we run under SAP Next Gen. But I think the starting point was SAP Next Gen projects, or consulting projects that we like to call them, where we take a challenge that is being faced by industry, and we pose that challenge to students so that they can work on that challenge and come up with ideas based on a particular technology area or business problem for that matter. And I think the Next Gen Projects initiative is beneficial in a couple of ways. Firstly, for the student, they get access and exposure to real life challenges that are happening out there, which also helps them in terms of their learning. They also get an opportunity to network with industry, and all of this then makes them more employable because they've got that exposure and that network with industry. On the other side, for those students that are more entrepreneurial, some of the ideas that come up can potentially be taken up into startups. So you're seeing kind of a whole lot of innovative ideas being brewed and being developed, and then that can then be taken up by some students who are more, like I said, more entrepreneurially inclined to use those as a basis to start their own businesses, and then to potentially offer those services to the industry players that they are working with. And then for the industry side, in terms of what they get obviously fresh ideas that they can either decide to take forward or give to students as entrepreneurs. But then they also get access to kind of your young talent. They get a new way of engaging with young talent, and it's kind of working for them as a channel for recruitment and for identifying talented young people to bring into their organizations.
Do you perhaps have any case studies of SAP partners or customers who have benefited from the SAP Next Gen program?
Sure, I can share a couple of cases. So in Africa, I'll share the cases, but I won't be so specific regarding who it is.
Right.
Because obviously everyone wants to maintain their competitive edge.
Yeah, right.
But for instance, one case that I'm working with now is with one of the biggest retailers in Africa, where they are posing an open-ended challenge to students and asking them to come up with the next disruptive technology or business idea for the retail sector. And for this particular company, they wanted to keep the challenge a bit open-ended because they didn't want to constrain the solution space too much. So they really want students to go and think about this and then come back with the most outrageous business models or ideas for apps or whatever that they think will disrupt technology. This particular company is also using this as a channel for their graduate recruitment. Because they're very adamant that they want to introduce a different breed into their organization. They want to introduce, the outrageous thinkers, that will come in and kind of shake things up. And it's very difficult to assess that just by reading an application form, right? Or reading a resume. So we are creating opportunities for meaningful engagement where they can actually see, how do these kids think? What are they thinking about? How do they think? And is this the kind of spark that we need in our organization to drive the innovation? So that's one case. And of course, they're also offering like prize money, etc. So they're taking it as kind of a competition basis, and part of it will have kind of like a lion's den element of pitching and all of that. So we're building a program around that. The other case is also, so if I think of a PhD project, for example, we're also working on for the square kilometer array. I think I can talk a little bit about that. In terms of having a big data PhD assignment that's linked to the square kilometer array. So this is in the pipeline.
Right.
But it's one of the things that we're working. So even if you can see, it's kind of like broad industries. We also have another example in healthcare, where a particular challenge is going to be taken, but then this is going to be done in the form of a hackathon. So this one is like short, impact, 3-day workshop. They do some ideation on the app and then they build it and then present that to management. So this is what we also have in the pipeline. So that's just a number of examples from South Africa, what we're working on now. This is the first year for Next Gen, so we're very busy on launching this. But there's also a lot of work happening globally on Next Gen.
So in order to bring all the stakeholders, sometimes you have hackathons, you have Next Gen labs.
Yes, correct.
During those events, are the students necessarily obliged to use the SAP platform, or how does it work?
So it depends, really. I mean, the way that we position it is that we are using this as an opportunity for our customers and partners to engage with young people on the challenges that they are facing. Obviously, SAP is doing a lot of good work in terms of providing the next kind of exponential technologies. And, we encourage that our customers actually explore the next generation technologies that are available to them from the SAP landscape, because so much of that is already in place and it's already happening. And SAP is also kind of taking on a role of, I think when we talk digital transformation, and large organizations and corporates, it's not something that you can just kind of flip a switch. There's a journey that needs to happen. And Next Gen is one of the elements on that journey from SAP that we are taking and holding the hand of our customer and partner and moving along this journey together.
So the SAP ecosystem,
yes,
which includes obviously the customers, the SAP clients, customers, and the students.
Yes, and partners. Yes.
What are some of the skills from the program, apart from learning about the SAP platform, that the students actually learn? What are some of the extra? I mean, I know you spoke a little bit about that before, but more specifically, apart from learning about the technologies of SAP, what are some of the more eminent skills that a student would actually learn if they enroll or become part of the program that they wouldn't have learned if they were not part of such a program?
I think with having kind of a problem statement and a problem space and then moving into a solution space, there's critical thinking capability that you kind of develop as you move along that process. And this is something that is obviously of great importance to organizations because they need people that can problem solve in a particular way. So I think that such programs are actually imparting that problem solving capability upon students in a manner that's not kind of rigid and strict and like, structured curriculum, but actually rolling up the sleeves and getting your hands dirty. I think that it also helps students to interact with corporates in order to basically build their own soft skills. So their professional skills, skills around presenting ideas and concepts to certain organizations, skills around being a professional person, and how to conduct yourself in a professional manner. I think those are some of kind of the follow-on skills that are cultivated via the Next Gen projects.
What are some of the softwares in the SAP suite that students get to experiment with during these hackathons? I know you guys have built some amazing database, the SAP HANA.
Yes.
What are some of the other softwares, including that you can mention?
So we run hackathons and in what we call code jams as part of the Next Gen program. And essentially it's workshops basically where students can interact with an SAP expert. So we usually source experts from globally around the world that are particular experts in a particular area. They come through, they hold the workshop, whether it's 3 days for a hackathon or 1 day for a code jam, but they have that interaction, not one-on-one, but in a classroom situation with an SAP expert. There's a number of technologies that we offer code jams on. So you've mentioned we have our in-memory database, SAP HANA. On that, we've created a development environment called HANA Express Edition. So we're actually offering that now to students to go and learn how to develop in our HANA Express Edition environment. We also offer code jams on the Internet of Things. We offer code jams on UI5 as an interface. We also offer code jams on our analytical tool called Lumira, which is a visualization tool, etc. So there are a number of topics where we are offering code jams at the moment. So what we have planned, for example, coming up soon is, this program is Pan-African. We don't see it as only a South African concern. This is something that's important for the continent. So soon, we're actually organizing code jams in East Africa at 3 different universities. We will have about 100 students in the developer community there working on new technologies from SAP, on HANA Express in particular.
So most of us, the millennials,
yes.
Although we are technology savvy, but we have been mostly exposed to consumer-facing technologies. And SAP and all its product are more business to business, enterprise resource planning kind of systems.
Yeah.
What are the challenges that the students face, coming from a more consumer-facing product now to more business-to-business applications? That transition and paradigm switch, how does it affect the whole innovation and being able to bring ideas, if it has any impact whatsoever?
So, I would say that in my personal opinion, I would say that interaction with consumer from the consumer end is actually very paramount and important for the development of the business app, right? Because you're coming in with the perspective of the user in mind, which is something that I think can be done better across many different companies, actually having a more user-centric approach to development on a business-to-business basis. So I think that it actually supports it. I wouldn't say that. I think the main constraint would be for students to actually learn the technologies, to get their hands dirty with the technologies. And this is kind of what we're trying to drive with the Next Gen program. I would say that that's the biggest challenge, learn how to use the technologies. But I think that the fact that there's more exposure to consumer apps, or to see things from the, what do they call it, from the front end,
right.
I think that helps. the innovation, and it actually drives better, more user-centric innovation that is meeting the needs. Because at the end of the day, everything trickles down to the customer. Our customers that we service have to service their own customers. So I think this only drives that philosophy. Yeah.
So just in closing, do you have any parting thoughts or suggestions or maybe some info regarding either the University Alliances program or the Next Gen to either the students, other stakeholders like partners and customers? Any parting thoughts?
Sure, I've got a couple. So I think, one thing that I should bring in terms of what we do under Next Gen is to talk a little bit more about the labs. And I'll tell you why. It's because, the whole story behind Next Gen is about creating an innovation network. So I know we've spoken quite a bit about the universities. We've spoken quite a bit about SAP. We've spoken quite a bit about SAP partners and customers. But there's a whole other kind of a broader innovation network that is also part of this hub of innovation. So if you think of your incubators, your startups, there's a whole other kind of network that is part and parcel of the Next Gen hub or platform. Accelerators, hubs, all of those. These are kind of our partners that we've also are bringing now back or bringing into this conversation and into this entire ecosystem of innovation, so that we are able to have kind of a multi-stakeholder approach and engagement towards innovation. And very central with this is to build the Next Gen hubs or Next Gen spaces or labs. So we have a flagship lab that's currently being launched. I think the launch was last week in New York at Hudson Yard, which is kind of the new Silicon Alley of the States. So Next Gen has a space there where we have a physical space where one can go and interact with startups, with incubators, with students, with academics, and with other institutions, as well as with our customers and partners in that physical space. And that's kind of very much the philosophy and strategy behind Next Gen, is to leverage that network to drive innovation from young people. And we do that in spaces. We also have plans to open spaces in Africa.
Something like a maker space.
Something like a maker space, something like an ideation space.
Right.
It's kind of a flexible working environment where different stakeholders can come and collaborate on innovations, on disruptive innovations, whether it's working with students, working with industry, working with startups or incubators, really leveraging a space for this network to come together. So we have plans for this in South Africa to start, where we are in the process of securing a Next Gen lab or launching a Next Gen lab, probably from Cape Town first. But then we will also have, for example, looking at Next Gen hubs, which will be virtual centers of innovation in South Africa and beyond later on as a strategy. So I think just to close off, I think, I think that the topic of innovation and working with young people has to involve multiple stakeholders, right? There are many players that can contribute and can stand to benefit, and it's by leveraging kind of the network. That's how you can get kind of a bigger impact. So very much for Next Gen, we want to bring that network to our students as the main kind of drivers of the innovation, but then also to open up that world to other stakeholders like our customers and partners, incubators, etc.
Thank you for that. Once again, should anyone be interested in the SAP University Alliances program, the Next Gen, how do they get all that information?
Follow us on Twitter. We're very active on Twitter. We're very active on Instagram. Just search for SAP Next Gen. And you should be able to find us. Follow me as well on all of those platforms. There's always a lot of information that I'm disseminating, especially via Twitter, on events that we're having, on thought leadership, different topics,
What's your Twitter handle?
So you can follow me on Instagram at Kwena_Mabotja.
Okay.
Yeah, find me there. That's where you'll find most information. But also, like I said, follow at SAP Next Gen.
Kwena, thank you so much. This has been a very insightful discussion. I hope you'll join us again sometime to talk about some of the interesting work that you do.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. That was Kwena Mabotja, an SAP University Alliances and Next Gen Manager for Africa, who shared with us the Next Gen program, where students get their hands dirty into some of the latest technologies and innovations that happen at SAP. If you have any suggestions about the show or want to recommend any future topics and guests, please email me at lekometa@strategycorner.co.za.
Thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this episode and found the material to be of great value to you. If you'd like to get more information about Strategy Corner and the services we offer, please email info@strategycorner.co.za, lekometa@strategycorner.co.za. You can also follow us using the handle @Strategy Corner on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the latest on Strategy Corner. Till next time, goodbye.